I'm so excited. We are in Redding, California, and I just met the coolest guy here, and it's Dr. Neil Weiner, who has been recommending and using raw food for over 20 years now.
Correct.
And a lot of times you'll hear me talk about this, how doctors and vets are not trained on diet and nutrition. So when a vet does take the time to learn about those things, they become my favorite vet. So you would be my vet if you lived near me. I want to know, what is it? I want to know your journey. I want to know, what did people think of you? I know I told you people think of me as the crazy cannabis lady. Were you the crazy doctor telling people to feed their dogs raw 20 years ago?
Yes, for 20 years I've been doing it, and I remember the first time we did it, they did an editorial in the paper, somewhat condemning me that Dr. Weiner wanted your dog to consume roadkill. But when I graduated from vet school, I changed my diet, and I went from traditional American foods to macrobiotics. So I went on a plant-based diet, and the transformation that I experienced physically, emotionally, spiritually helped me understand that you do become what you eat. Mm-hmm. And all of us veterinarians, we really have in our heart, we really want to help animals. So to have them eat a diet that their creator wants to design them to consume just made so much sense, but it really wasn't taught in vet school. So you just have to go out on your own and try.
Right.
And because I had personal experience, I was very passionate about it. And we've shared it with literally thousands of people. And by far the best thing I've ever done as a veterinarian. And so it's very satisfying to watch animals come in with many health problems and in a matter of weeks and months be transformed to a level of wellness that their guardians never thought possible.
Imagine, I know so many of you can't even imagine this. I can't imagine it. Walking into my vet's office with an issue with my dog and them saying, "What are you feeding them?" And then suggesting a diet, and that diet alone gets rid of all of the problems. I can't even imagine it.
Right, and and I do that almost with every client. So the part that really feels good is that food is, and it becomes, your first medicine.
Right.
And if you have the right selection and the right attitude, and you feed this food with love, the greater majority of dogs go off of the disease paradigm that those animals are on if they're not eating the diet that their creator designed for them. So as a veterinarian, I feel like I'm doing my job.
You are totally doing your job.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy to have met somebody like you.
Yeah.
When someone, because I just got in trouble the other day because someone asked me what kibble diet would I recommend, and I said I can't, because there's no such thing as a good kibble. You're the vet, so I want you as the vet to say, what's wrong with kibble?
The major thing is that I would agree with you in the sense that I would not recommend any kibble-based diet to any dog or cat ever. And the major thing is that dogs really have no major requirement for starch because they get their energy biologically from the animal that they would consume. And every single dry dog food in America, regardless of who makes it, has 30 to 50% starch. The starch turns into sugar, becomes inflammatory for their body, and then becomes the impetus for the ear problem, the skin problem, the dental disease, the cancer, the bowel disease, the respiratory issues, the anxiety, the GI problems. And the thought of recommending a pharmaceutical and bypassing nourishment did not seem like a good idea to me.
Hallelujah! To me, it's common sense. I don't understand it.
It felt irrational. The last year or so, it just becomes more. It feels irrational.
Right.
A dog comes in with an ear problem. There's no foreign bodies. There's no ear mites. It's had a problem after problem, and the dog is eating milk, biscuits, and kibble, and they're coming for help. And the thing that's really important is that these folks that come, they love their dog or cat. They would do anything in the world. And to bypass the information that the nutrition may be a part of the disease was not in my client's best interest, and I didn't feel like, I felt it was proper to talk about diet. So we've been doing it for 20 years. We started out with one freezer in our 2 veterinary clinics. We now have 30, and they are filled and emptied every 2 to 3 weeks. And the people that do it, they experience miracles. And there's also a sense of joy to watch the animal eat the food that's fresh compared to
they watch
kibble.
You, and they watch you make it,
and then cutting it in the vegetables, your love, your energy. It's just a wonderful healing dance that I was able to experience in my own life. So of course I wanted to share it with my patients.
Well, this is something that I did, which is kind of funny, that I realized that most people do, is that I know that when I turned a certain age, I could no longer tolerate certain foods anymore. It was my body going, no, I'm not doing this anymore. You're not doing the dairy, you're not doing, all of these things.
Sure.
For the most part, I'm pescatarian, vegetarian. I eat my own chickens, eggs. But people don't realize that the same thing happens with dogs. So the number one thing they'll say, if I have a dog that comes to see me, and it's got all of these problems, the first question I ask is what they're feeding them. And then they'll say, well, I don't understand. I've been feeding them their whole entire life. But then when they turn to become 8, 9 seniors is when most of the problems I feel show up. And it's the same thing as us hitting a certain age and our body's no longer being able to tolerate the crap, and we've got to change our diet so that we feel better and not get diseases. I feel it's the same thing happening with dogs. Do you think that's got a little bit of
extreme
truth?
correlation? Yeah, sure.
So even though you've been feeding the same food for the past 10 years for your dog and they've been doing fine, and now all of a sudden they've got all these issues, that's why.
Sure.
I'll never forget when I switched my dogs to a raw diet. I always tell everybody it was a literal shit show, because if you've been feeding your dogs kibble, it's stuck in their colon, it's stuck in there. So a raw diet actually cleanses them, and the stuff I saw come out of my dogs, thankfully I have, call Billy and go, what, am my dog dying? No, they're not.
Right.
So, and you're gonna pay, I forgot who said this, but you're gonna pay the grocer or the farmer, or you're gonna pay the doctor. So you can either do a good diet, figure out what's making the difference. People will say it's too expensive, but you're either going to be going to your vet all the time and them putting you on prescription medication that usually has a side effect that causes another medication that they need, and now we're just hammering away at their immune system, and there's no way for them to fight it.
And there is a reality that when a pharmaceutical is dispensed, the health of the patient is no higher than the pharmaceutical.
Wow.
And we all want more than that.
Yes.
If a dog has an ear problem and I'm continually giving the ear medicine, the health's really not changing.
No.
And the only way you can really change the patient is to change the entire body. And the best way to do that is love, nourishment, food, and to respect nature. And their creator designed them and us to eat a certain way. And if we honor that, we have a fairly free, joyful, disease-free life.
Yes,
and we all want that for ourselves. We want it for our loved ones. We want it for the dogs and cats in our lives. We want it for this little guy.
That's Blanche, for those of you who can't see.
He's going to join the interview.
And that's what's, I think, so important, is that we are on this tour to take charge of our pets' lives and get educated to know how we can do it the most natural possible. But this is what a holistic vet sounds like. So I know where I live, I don't have a holistic vet like you around me. It's very difficult. I now have some of the world's best at my fingertips.
Yes,
and you're going to make it on that list.
All right.
But this is the types of things that your holistic vet should be talking to you about. When you hear the word holistic, that means the whole animal. A lot of these drugs just suppress the immune system and don't take care of the problems, so you as the owner don't see them itching or scratching, but they're probably going to get another disease because their immune system has been suppressed and they can't fight it off themselves. I came here today to teach you about cannabis, medical cannabis for pets. And you were very open to it, and I know you've used it a little bit in your practice. I know that you've had some success stories. What are some of the success stories that you've had using medical cannabis in pets?
Well, I think the success stories are somewhat limited by my own education.
Okay.
And the more I understand something, the more powerful I can be in sharing it.
Good.
So before we shared it, but we really didn't know what we were sharing. So we did have some animals that benefited for arthritis or anxiety, but as far as I'm learning more about it, I'm excited to use it for a multitude of problems. And when you understand something and you have a belief in it, miracles can happen.
They do. And
Yeah.
one of the best things that you asked me was about medical cannabis is that you said, so are you telling me that I could suggest medical cannabis instead of prescribing Apoquel?
And that would be incredible.
Why would that be incredible?
I mean, Apoquel turns the itch off, and it's expensive. As soon as you just stop the medicine, the itch comes back. So
And I've heard it comes back bad, like even worse.
it can.
I
So
always, when I'm taking somebody off of Apoquel and onto a CBD regimen, I always go, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better, because I feel like their body's going to have a huge flare up and then come back down. It happens sometimes, but not all the time.
So if cannabis or CBD related products could help allergic itching for dogs without having to use an expensive pharmaceutical, that would be phenomenal, and I greatly look forward to that happening in the immediate future.
Good. Well, I can't wait for you to try it, because
Yeah.
I've told you, I've got a Frenchie on our logo because I've treated more Frenchies with getting them off Apoquel and onto a CBD regimen that keeps them from itching. Because most allergies will be environmental or food, but some are hereditary. And when you're getting into these Frenchies and Labradoodles and Golden Doodles that are so much inbreeding and bad breeding that they just come with the allergies. So you could do all the right things and they're still probably going to have something.
Yeah, and I think I probably am unaware of the diverse applications that it can be used for. So I'm excited.
Good.
I love things that help healing, and they're natural and they're part of nature, and it's just one of the thousands of gifts that are provided for us every day.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask some personal questions.
Please.
I want to know, how in the world did you know you wanted to be a vet, and what did that look like? How'd you know you were good with animals?
I was 7 years old, and we got our first dog, and we got it from a shelter, and about 2 months later the dog developed distemper. And in those 2 months, I was graced by the love of this puppy. And unfortunately, the puppy died of distemper. This goes back to the 50s. And I made a statement that I would take care of animals the rest of my life. And I just did it. It was almost like a childlike, instinctual thing. And here I am 44 years later.
Impossible!
So I've taken care of it most of my life.
Good. Do you have any pets of your own?
Yeah, we have a dog and a cat, and our older cat just passed away.
Aww.
And I got a chance to really be on the other side of what it feels like when you lose a part of your family that's been in your heart for a long time.
Right.
So we live out in the country, and we're getting ready to get some sheep and some goats and some donkeys, and look forward to them being part of our family.
Awesome. I just had the wonderful experience of saving my first donkey. My neighbor's donkey had colic and called the vet. Vet came over and said, I'm going to have to put him down.
Not CBD.
Tongue out, laying on the ground, family crying. I'm here. Calls me. My boyfriend runs and grabs the tincture. I think he grabs the 1100 milligram. He didn't. He grabbed the E's. I mean, I think I said, give him 10, give him 10 droppers, 10 full syringe, fill it up. And the donkey was up and eating and pooping in 8 hours. So I just saved my first donkey. And what's great is that I don't know how it's going to help. I'm just pretty sure I am. The number one thing I know is if I see an animal suffering, I know the suffering is going to stop. The pain's going to go away. They're going to be in a better mood. So even if I can do that so that it's not suffering anymore, that's why I always run to it. And that's why I think it should always be in the toolbox. Did I heal the animal? No. Now we got to figure out what brought that donkey to that condition. So then I pick up the phone and I call my friends and say, hey, Julianne Lee, this is what happened. And she says, I've rescued over 40 horses and donkeys, and most of the time they have ulcers. And those ulcers, when they're not taken care of in their stomach, they end up getting colic and dying. So now we're going to address these ulcers and get them on a pre or probiotic and digestive enzyme that's specifically for them.
Nice.
And cure them from the gut. So
Very good.
these are the types of things. So you're gonna want to keep all of them at your house and here and run and get it. I told you I've had dogs walk into my shop and have a seizure and grab it and stop the seizure right there.
Yeah,
So,
I would have a lot of personal gratitude to be able to use CBDs instead of pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. Oh,
That
good.
would be.
I'm so glad to hear that.
That would be quite a
Again,
gift.
folks, this is what a true holistic vet sounds like. So if this is not what your vet is saying, then they're not truly a holistic vet. So I know it's difficult to find a good one. Is the general public able to follow you on the website or watch what you're doing, or are you just, you're just a superhero?
I fly pretty quietly.
Well, not anymore. We're telling everyone about it.
I don't mind coming out of the closet.
And I can't wait to check in with you in a couple months.
Me too.
Where you're going to be like, I need you to come back. You need to explain. I just cured a dog.
Hopefully when you come back, we'll have an audience.
Awesome.
They'll be
Good.
bigger than the three of us.
And if you want, we can hold something and I'll Zoom, what is it called? Zoom? Skype my way into your audience. So I don't even have to be here in person.
All right. Awesome.
But what are some of the biggest successes that you have as a holistic vet? Some of the biggest things that you've been able to heal?
Many dogs with skin problems, ear problems. I would say, small numbers of cancer, arthritic problems, chiropractic problems, spinal issues, subluxations, bladder issues that have gone away with diet, and just a very different relationship with food and the dog or cat that you love, and a sense of inner knowingness that the goodness of this food will keep the dog or cat that you have healthy, and the joy that brings the entire family is awesome.
And most dogs, as you know from wonderful Rodney Habib, are supposed to live for 20 years, and we're seeing a lot of them not make it to 10.
Yes.
10 is like the death sentence now, and most of the time it's because of what they're eating.
Sure.
Or over-vaccinating, or over-medicating, or the pesticides that they put on our dogs to keep the fleas and ticks and mosquitoes off of them. So all those build up on a little dog or a big dog and really have an effect, and that's why we're seeing such short lifespans now for our favorite. I lost my first dog at 7 years old. Never knew. I stopped counting at $10,000 of how much every test, everything. Got an autopsy. Irritable bowel is the only thing that they could find. I'm like, well, now I know. I vaccinated her every year. I fed her shitty kibble. I did everything my vet said, and my conventional vet said. So I'm taking it into my own hands. My health, my pet's health. People should come. Do you have any suggestions for people who don't get to see you but are looking for a good holistic vet, of questions they should ask? How should they come in to be prepared? How to not be bullied into something that you do not want to give your own dog?
I think if you have a sincere desire and you seek answers, whether it's the internet or websites or YouTube, and you ask for guidance, you'll be led to the proper veterinarian, the proper website to get the information you need. And it's the journey that you start on. And the fact that you have a heartfelt desire to help with this cancer or this ear infection, you'll get to the good place.
Good. Like I said, like anything, you might have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince.
Yes, that's true.
But don't stop until you get what you need in your
But I would say the starting point is really a transferring from a kibble-based diet to a fresh food raw diet. That's where the door opens up to health.
Absolutely.
You can add CBDs and other supplements. It only gets better.
It starts in the gut. That's where 88% of our immune system is. So if we don't take care of our gut, We're a mess.
The part we never wanted to look at had the answer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Neal, thank you so much.
It's been a joy. Thank you guys.
I appreciate you having us and spending time and meeting you. You are wonderful.
I enjoyed it. It's mutual. Thank you guys.